Well, greetings everyone again as we proceed with this epic narration of Krishna Dvaipayana Vedavyas's Mahabharata. So we're now proceeding through the Shamshaktaka Parva, which is a Parva within the Drona Parva. So where we left off last time was a prolonged and drawn out battle between Bhagadatta, who's also called Pragjyotish, and Arjuna. So we're in the middle of that. So without much further ado, I'll say Mangalacharana and continue reading. Vandeham Sri Guroh Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. So chapter 1003 of the Mahabharata, chapter 26 of the Shamshaktaka Parva, corresponding to Drona Parva, section 25 in Ganguli's edition. Sanjaya said, "You have asked me about the deeds performed by Partha in that battle. O great king, listen to what Partha accomplished in that battle. On seeing that a dust had arisen, and on hearing the roar of the elephant, when Bhagadatta caused subjugation, Kaunteya spoke to Krishna. O Madhusudana, it is certain that this tumult has been caused by the elephant of the king of Pragjyotisha. When he has swiftly attacked, he is not inferior to Indra in battle. He is skilled in steering an elephant. In my view, on this earth, he is the first or the second." Footnote: in fighting with elephants, effectively meaning that there is no one superior to Bhagadatta. End of footnote. He possesses the best of elephants, and there is no elephant which can withstand it in battle. It can tolerate all the sounds of battle. It is accomplished in deeds and has conquered exhaustion. O unblemished one, it can tolerate the downpour of all weapons and can even bear the touch of fire. It is evident that it will destroy the Pandava army today. With the exception of the two of us, there is no one who is capable of countering it. Therefore, swiftly, go to the spot where the Lord of Pragjyotisha is. He is Shakra's friend. He is strong because of the elephant. He should be marveled at, despite his age. I will dispatch him today as a beloved guest to the destroyer of Bala." As soon as Savyasati spoke these words, Krishna left and went to the spot where Bhagadatta was mauling the Pandava army. As he was going there, 14,000 Maharata Samshaktakas summoned him from the back. O Lord of men, 10,000 of those were Trigartas, and another 4,000 were followers of Vasudeva. O venerable one, on seeing that Bhagadatta was shattering the army and on also being challenged, he was caught in two minds and thought, what is the best course of action for me? Should I return here or should I go to Yudhishthira? O extender of the Kuru lineage, thus did Arjuna reflect in his mind and decided that he should kill the Shamshaktakas. The one with the foremost of monkeys on his banner suddenly returned. Vasava's son wished to single-handedly kill thousands of Rathas in battle. This is what Duryodhana and Karna had also plotted when the two of them had thought about means of killing Arjuna. That is the reason they had arranged for this divided feeling in Pandava's mind. But he foiled them by deciding to take on the foremost of Rathas on his chariot. O king, the Maharata Samsaptakas shot hundreds and thousands of arrows with drooping tufts towards Arjuna. O king, enveloped by those arrows, Partha, Kunti's son, Krishna Janardana, the horses and the chariot could not be seen. Janardana was deprived of his senses and began to sweat. At this, Partha used the Vajra weapon to kill most of them. Hundreds of arms, still holding bowstrings and bows, were severed. Standards, horses, charioteers, and rathas fell down on the ground, slain by Partha's arrows, and bereft of their riders, elephants fell down on the ground. They were like mountain summits with trees and looked like well-crafted rain clouds. Their seats and harnesses were shredded, their temples were shattered, and they were destroyed. Wounded by Partha's arrows, horses fell down together with their riders, with their arms severed, but still holding on to swords, shields, scimitars, like nails, clubs, and battle axes. Men were brought down by Kiriti's broad-headed arrows. O venerable one, there were youthful and dazzling heads, as beautiful as the morning sun, the lotus, or the moon. These were severed by Arjuna's arrows. The enemy soldiers, who were slaughtered by the enraged Falguni with arrows that fed on lives, seemed to blaze in many different forms. The soldiers were agitated like lotuses by an elephant. Masses of beings applauded and worshipped Dhananjaya on witnessing Partha's deeds there, like those of Vasava himself. Madhava was overcome by great wonder and applauded him with his hands. Having killed most of the Shamshaptakas who were stationed there, Partha urged Krishna to take him to Bhagadatta. Are you ready, Mathura?
Brilliant. Hari Om Namo Narayana. Jai Shri Krishna. Chapter 1004. 27. Shamshaptaka Vada Parva, a subsection of the Drona Parva. Sanjaya said, according to Partha's wishes, Krishna urged the horses, which were as swift as thought, white and caparisoned in gold, and drove them towards Drona's army. While that best of the Kurus departed to save those on his side who were tormented by Drona, Sushama and his brothers followed him from the rear, wishing to do battle. The unvanquished Jaya, possessor of the white horses, spoke to Krishna. O Achyuta, Sushama and his brothers are challenging me. O destroyer of enemies, our soldiers are being shattered towards the north. Because of the Shamshaptakas, I am again caught in two minds now. Should I kill the Shamshaptakas, or should I protect our soldiers who are afflicted by the enemy? Know that this is what I'm thinking of. What is more beneficial for me? Having been thus addressed, Dashaha reversed the chariot and took Pandava to the spot where the Lord of Trigata was challenging him. Arjuna pierced Sushama with 7 swift arrows and brought down his standard and bow with a razor-sharp arrow. Partha then used 6 iron arrows to swiftly send the brother of the lord of the Trigarta, his horses, and his charioteer to Yama's abode. At this, Sushama grasped an iron javelin that was like a serpent and hurled this towards him, also throwing a spear at Vasudeva. Arjuna used 3 arrows to shatter the javelin and another 3 to fragment the spear. He then confounded Sushama with his storm of arrows and forced him to retreat. O king, like Vasava pouring down rain, he showered down many fierce arrows on your soldiers. There was no one who could oppose him. Dhananjaya advanced, slaying all the Maratha Kauravas with his arrows, like a fire consuming dry wood. Like beings who cannot bear the touch of fire, no one was capable of withstanding the force of Kunti's intelligent son. O king, Pandava showered down arrows on the assembled army, and like Suparna swooping down, approached Pragyotisha. Jishnu held the bow, which was like the granter of boons to virtuous Bharatas, and was the bringer of tears to enemies in battle. O king, because of your son's deceit in gambling with the dice, Arjuna grasped the bow that would destroy Kshatriyas. O king, thus it was that your army was agitated by Partha. Like a boat that is shattered when it strikes a mountain, 10,000 archers advanced. Those angry and brave ones have made up their minds to do battle regardless of victory or defeat. Their hearts were devoid of fear. Headed towards calamity, they obstructed the Raspart. Partha was capable of handling a grave burden and could withstand all burdens in battle. He was like an enraged elephant with rent temples that is 60 years of age and is let loose on a forest of lotuses, destroying it. In that fashion, Partha shattered your army. When the soldiers were thus being crushed, King Bhagadatta suddenly attacked Dhananjaya on that elephant. The tiger among men remained on his chariot and received him. A tumultuous encounter commenced between the chariot and the elephant when the 2 brave ones, Bhagadatta and Dhananjaya, fought each other. The elephant was like a cloud, and Lord Bhagadatta, who was like Indra, showered down arrows on Dhananjaya. Vasava's son repulsed that shower of arrows released by the valiant Bhagadatta with his own shower of arrows and sliced them down before they could reach him. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, King Pragyotisha also repulsed that shower of arrows and tried to kill the mighty armed Partha and Krishna with his arrows. Those 2 were enveloped with the giant shower of arrows, and he urged the elephant on to kill Achyuta and Partha. On seeing that the elephant was descending like angry death, Janardana quickly wheeled the chariot so that it remained on the left. Dhananjaya thus got an opportunity to slay the mighty elephant and its rider, but remembering his dharma, he did not do this. O Venerable One, that elephant descended on elephants, chariots, and horses and dispatched them to the world of the dead. At this, Dhananjaya was enraged. Chapter 1005, 28. Dhritarashtra asked, having been enraged, how did Pandava act against Bhagadatta? What did Pragyotisha do to Partha? Tell me everything as it happened. Sanjaya replied, when Dashaha and Pandava were thus engaged with Pragyotisha, all the beings thought that they had reached the jaws of death. O Lord, stationed on the neck of the elephant, Bhagadatta incessantly showered down arrows on the 2 Krishnas. As they were stationed on the chariot, he stretched his bow back to its full extent and pierced Devaka's son with black arrows that were completely made out of iron, gold tufted, and sharpened on stone. Released by Bhagadatta, they were sharp and their touch was like that of fire. Those arrows pierced Devaki's son and penetrated the ground. At this, Partha severed his bow and his quiver and began to fight with King. Is that severed? Yeah. So he severed his bow and quiver and began to fight with King Bhagadatta as if he was sporting with him. He hurled 14 javelins at Savyasati. They were sharp and as bright as the rays of the sun, but he sliced each one of them down into 3 fragments. Then the son of Pakar's destroyer penetrated the elephant's armor with his net of arrows, and it looked like a king of mountains covered with clouds. Pragi Yotisha hurled a javelin towards Vasudeva. It had a golden handle and was made completely out of iron. Arjuna severed it with 2 fragments. Arjuna,
Prag, Jyotisha. It's
yes.
two, it's compound word. Prag, Jyotisha.
Okay, so there's no, what about the I after the Prague?
Prag, no, then Jyotisha. It's not an I, it's a J.
Ah, sorry. God, that's why I was getting confused. Shit, my glasses. Excuse my language. Prague Yotisha. Okay. Prague Yotisha held a javelin towards Vasudeva. It had a golden handle and was made completely out of iron. Arjuna severed it into 2 fragments. Arjuna used his arrows to slice down the king's umbrella and standard. He then smiled and swiftly pierced the lord of the mountain with 10 arrows. He was thus pierced by Arjuna's arrows, which had excellent tufts and the feathers of herons. Bhagadata became angry at the great-souled Pandava. He hurled javelins towards his head and roared. In that battle, these dislodged Arjuna's diadem. Falguna adjusted the diadem back and spoke these words to the king. Look upon this world with delight. Having been thus addressed, he grasped a radiant bow and angrily showered down arrows on Pandava and Govinda. Partha severed his bow and destroyed his quiver and quickly struck him with 72 arrows that afflicted all his inner organs. Having been thus pierced and pained, he angrily resorted to the Vaishnava weapon. He invoked the mantra on his goad and hurled it towards Pandava's chest. That weapon was capable of slaying everything and was released by Bhagadatta. Covering Partha, Keshava received it on his own chest. On Keshava's chest, that weapon became the Vaijanti garland. Wow. Distressed in his mind, Arjuna spoke to Keshava. Oh, Janardana, you are not supposed to fight. You are only supposed to steer my horses. Oh, Pundaritaksha, that is what you said, but you did not keep your promise. If I am in distress or if I am incapable of countering, it is only then that you should act in this way. You should not act in this way if I'm standing. With my arrows and with my bow, I am capable of conquering all the worlds, with the gods, the asuras, and the humans. This is known to you. Having been thus addressed by Arjuna, Vasudeva replied in these words, O Partha, O unblemished one, listen to this ancient and secret account. I am engaged in saving the world and have 4 forms. For the sake of the world's welfare of the worlds, I divide myself into different parts. One of my forms is based on earth and is engaged in austerities. Another form beholds the virtuous and evil deeds in the universe. Another form resorts to the world of men and performs deeds. The fourth and final form lies down and sleeps for 1,000 years. This form of mine awakes at the end of 1,000 years and at that time grants the best of boons to those who are deserving of boons. On one such occasion, the earth got to know, and for the sake of Narak, the demon Naraka was the earth's son. On one such occasion, the earth got to know, and for the sake of Naraka, asked a boon from me. Listen to this. Having obtained the Vaishnava weapon, let it such that my son cannot be killed by gods and asuras. Grant me this boon. In ancient times, having heard of this boon, I gave the invincible Vaishnava weapon to the earth's son and said, O earth, let this weapon be infallible in protecting Nanak. No one will be able to kill him. Protected by this weapon, your son will be able to crush the armies of all enemies. He will always be invincible in all the worlds. Having been thus addressed, the intelligent goddess departed, her wishes having been fulfilled. That is how Naraka, the scorcher of enemies, became invincible. O Partha, it was from him that Pragjyotish obtained his weapons of mine. O venerable one, there is no one in the world, not even Indra and Rudra, who cannot be killed by it. It is for your sake that I repulsed the weapon and violated my pledge. O Partha, the great Asura has now lost his supreme weapon. Kill him, as I killed Naraka earlier, for the sake of welfare. The invincible Bhagadatta is your enemy in battle. He is the enemy of the gods. Thus addressed by the great-souled Kesava. Partha suddenly shrouded Bhagadatta with sharp arrows, without any fear. The mighty armed and high-minded Partha struck the elephant between its frontal lobes with an iron arrow. That arrow struck the elephant like the Vajra against a mountain. It penetrated right up to its tusks, like a snake entering a termite hill. With its limbs paralyzed, it fell down and struck the ground with its tusks. The giant elephant roared in woe and gave up its life. Partha then used an arrow with a drooping tuft, with a head that was the shape of the half moon, and pierced King Bhagadatta in the heart with this. With his heart thus pierced by Kiriti, King Bhagadatta let go of his bow and arrows and lost his life. His head fell down, and so did the beautiful gold, like a petal falling off a lotus when the stalk of the lotus has been destroyed. Garlanded in gold, he fell down from the golden housing on the elephant that was like a mountain. He was like a blossoming Karnikara, dislodged from the summit of the mountain by the violent force of the wind. The king was like Indra in his valor. He was like Indra's friend and was killed by Indra's son in the battle. Desiring victory, the men then began to shatter the ones on your side, like the strength of the wind unleashed on trees. Does somebody else want to read now, please?
I reckon you should read a bit more.
Should I just finish it then if I'm going to? I mean,
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
insist. Okay, let me just have a sip.
It's good. Very nice. I'm enjoying this.
I'm enjoying it. I haven't read for ages. Chapter 1006, 29. Sanjaya said, the infinitely energetic Prag Pragjyotish was Indra's beloved friend. Having killed him, Arjuna circumambulated him. The two sons of the king of Gandhara, the brothers Vrishaka and Achala, the conquerors of enemy cities, began to afflict Arjuna in the battle. Those two brave archers united and pierced Arjuna severely from the front and the back, using extremely swift and sharp arrows. In an instant, Partha used sharp arrows to pierce the horses, charioteer, bow, umbrella, chariot, and standard of Vrishaka, Subala's son. Arjuna again used a storm of arrows and many other weapons. He oppressed the Gandhara soldiers with Subala's son at the forefront. There were 500 brave Gandhara warriors with their weapons raised. The enraged Dhananjaya used arrows to send them to the world of the dead. With his horses slain, the mighty armed one quickly descended from his chariot, and ascending onto his brother's chariot, grasped another bow. Those two brothers, Rishika and Achala, were stationed on the same chariot. They repeatedly pierced Bibachu with a shower of arrows. Those two great-souled kings, Rishika and Achala, your brothers-in-law, severely wounded Partha like Indra against Vritra and Bala. Those two from Gandhara were themselves not injured, but successful in striking the target. Again struck Pandava. Pandava. It was like the months of summer and monsoon afflicting the world with sweat and rain. Those two kings, tigers among men, Vrishaka and Achala, were stationed on the same chariot. O king, they were stationed next to each other, and Arjuna slew them with a single arrow. They were like lions, giant-armed and with red eyes. They were brothers and possessed similar features. Those two brave ones lost their lives and fell down from the chariot. Their bodies, loved by their relatives, fell down from the chariot onto the ground. They lay there, spreading their sacred fame in the 10 directions. O Lord of the earth, on seeing that their maternal uncles, who never retreated, had been slain in the battle, your sons fiercely showered down weapons. Shakuni was skilled in 100 different ways of Maya. On seeing that his brothers had been killed, he confused the two Krishnas with his Maya. Sticks, iron balls, shatagnis, javelins, clubs, maces, swords, spears, bludgeons, spikes, kampanas, chimmatas, nails, mullets, battle axes, razors, shu, shurapras, hollow arrows, vatsadantas, weapons with joints, chakras, tufted arrows, darts, and many other weapons showered down on Arjuna from all the directions. Horses, camels, buffaloes, lions, tigers, small deer, kites, bears, wolves, vultures, monkeys, reptiles, and many other kinds of flesh eaters hungrily dashed towards Arjuna. Many diverse kinds of crows angrily rushed towards him. Kunti's son, the brave Dhananjaya, was skilled in the use of divine weapons. He suddenly unleashed a net of arrows and attacked them. The arrows released by the brave one were firm and excellent, and they were slain by these. They let out a giant wail as all of them were slain and destroyed. Darkness then appeared and enveloped Arjuna's chariot. From within that darkness, a cruel voice censured Arjuna, but Arjuna destroyed this with the mighty weapon known as Jyotisha. When that was destroyed, a terrible flood of water appeared. For destroying this, Arjuna used the weapon named Aditya. Thanks to this weapon, the water was almost completely dried up. Subala's son repeatedly resorted to many different kinds of Maya, but Arjuna laughed and used the strength of his weapons to destroy them all. When his Maya was destroyed, Shakuni was injured by Arjuna's arrows. He fled on his swift horses like an ordinary man. Arjuna was the best among those who were skilled in the use of weapons, and he showed his nature to the enemy. He showered down a flood of arrows on the Kaurava army. The army of your son was slaughtered by Partha, O great king. It became divided into two, like the Ganga when it confronts a mountain. O king, some Maharajas sought shelter with Drona, others were afflicted by Kiriti and went to Duryodhana. Since they were covered by darkness, we could not see the soldiers or hear them, or him then. I heard the twang of Gandiva on my south. There was a sound of conch shells and drums and the noise of musical instruments. Gandiva's roar could be heard above all of these. Fight then again commenced towards the south between wonderful warriors and Arjuna. However, I followed Drona, O descendant of the Bharata lineage. At that time, the many different divisions in your son's army were slaughtered by Arjuna, like the wind scattering clouds in the sky. Like Vasava raining down copiously, the great archer and tiger among men showered down a flood of arrows, and no one could counter the fierce one. Those on your side were killed by Partha and were severely afflicted. As they fled hither and thither, they killed many on their own side. The arrows shot by Arjuna were tufted with the feathers of herons and were capable of penetrating the body. They descended like locusts that covered the 10 directions. O venerable one, horses, charioteers, elephants were pierced, and the arrows then penetrated the ground like snakes into a termite hill. He did not shoot a second arrow at any elephant, horse, or man. Shot by a single arrow, they fell down, losing their lives. Men and horses were slain everywhere. Elephants were struck by arrows and brought down. At that time, dogs, jackals, and wild crows howled, and the field of battle looked wonderful. Oppressed by arrows, father abandoned son, well-wisher abandoned well-wisher, and son abandoned father. Everyone sought to protect themselves. Oppressed by Parta, they abandoned their mounts. Did you want to take over, Dina? The last bit. Dina? Or do I just carry on? Okay, looks like I'm going to carry on. Okay, chapter 1007:30. Dhritarashtra asked, O Sanjaya, when those divisions were shattered by Pandu's sons and fled quickly, okay, sorry. Dhritarashtra asked, O Sanjaya, when those divisions were shattered by Pandu's son and fled quickly, what was the state of your mind then? When divisions are shattered and do not see a place where they can make a stand, it is very difficult to counter this. Oh, Sanjaya, tell me everything about this. Sanjaya replied, O Lord of the earth, despite this, there were those who wished to bring pleasure to your son. To preserve their fame in this world, those brave ones followed Drona. They raised their weapons and approached Yudhisthira. They performed noble and terrible deeds and were truly fearless. O Lord, they detected a weakness in the infinitely energetic Bhimashena, the brave Satyaki and Drishtadyumna. The Panchalas cruelly urged, Drona, Drona. However, your sons urged all the Kurus, not Drona. On one side said, Drona, Drona. The other said, not Drona. The Kurus and the Pandavas seemed to be gambling over Drona. Whenever Drona sought to attack the chariots of the Panchalas, Panchala Dhristadyumna stationed himself at those spots. There was a terrible battle where one did not follow the respective divisions. Brave ones clashed against brave ones and roared against the enemy. The enemy was incapable of making the Pandavas tremble there. But because they remembered their own hardships, they made the enemy divisions waver. Though they were modest, they were overcome by anger and driven by their spirit. They were prepared to give up their lives and sought to kill Drona in that great battle. There was a tumultuous battle in which those infinitely energetic ones offered their lives as stake. It was as if iron were clashing against rock. Even the aged could not remember a battle like this. O great king, such had not been witnessed earlier, nor heard of. When those brave ones were slaughtered, the earth trembled, oppressed by the great burden of those two oceans of soldiers. As the armies whirled around, the firmament seemed to roar and stand still. Ajatashatru angrily advanced against your son. Drona roamed around in that battle. He approached the Pandu army and shattered it with thousands of sharp arrows. They were routed by Drona's extraordinary deeds. Then the commander himself engaged with Drona, and there was an extraordinary battle between Drona and Pancha. It is my view that there has never been anything that is equal to this. Like a fire, Nila burnt down the Kuru army. The arrows were the sparks, and he was like a fire burning down dry wood. When he was burning down the soldiers, Drona's powerful son, who had wished to have an encounter with him from earlier times, smilingly addressed him. "Oh, Nila, what will you gain by burning down these warriors with the rays of your arrows? Fight with me and angrily strike me with your swift arrows." Nila's eyes were like the petals of lotuses. He pierced the one whose face was as beautiful as a blooming lotus, and whose body was like a collection of lotuses. On being thus suddenly pierced, Drona's son used three sharp and broad-headed arrows to slice down the bow, standard, and umbrella of the enemy. Nila swiftly jumped down from his chariot and grasped the shield and a supreme sword, wishing to sever like a bird the head of Drona's son from his body. O blemished one, but Drona's son smiled. He used a broad-headed arrow to sever his head with a beautiful nose and with earrings from his body. The face was as radiant as the full moon. The eyes were like the petals of lotuses. The shoulders were elevated, and he was tall. He was slain and fell down on the ground. At this, the Pandava soldiers were distressed and became extremely anxious. Blazing in his energy, Nila was killed by the son of the preceptor. O venerable one, all the Pandavas, Maharajas began to think, how will thus of a son be able to save us from the enemy? The brave one is engaging and fighting with the soldiers in the southern direction, with the remaining soldiers of the Samshataka and the Narayana army. Jai ho!
Okay. This is in Ganguli's edition. XXX. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sanjaya said, Vrikodara, however, could not brook that slaughter of his army. He struck Valhika with 60 and Karna with 10 arrows. Drona then, desirous of slaying Bhima, quickly struck the latter in his very vitals, many straight and whetted shafts of keen edge. Desirous again of allowing no time, he once more struck him with 26 shafts, whose touch resembled that of fire, and which were all like snakes of virulent poison. Then Karna pierced him with 12 shafts, and Ashwatthama with 7, and King Duryodhana also with 6. The mighty Bhimashen in return pierced them all. He struck Drona with 50 shafts, and Karna with 10, and piercing Duryodhana with 12 shafts, and Drona with 8, he engaged in that battle, uttering a loud shout. In that encounter, in which the warriors fought reckless of their lives, and in which death was easy of attainment, Ajatasattu dispatched many warriors, urging them to rescue Bhima. Those heroes of immeasurable energy, the 2 sons of Madri and Pandu, and others headed by Yuyudhana, quickly proceeded to Bhimashen's side. And those bulls among men, filled with rage and uniting together, advanced to battle, desirous of breaking the army of Drona that was protected by the many foremost of bowmen. Indeed, those great Ka warriors of mighty energy, Bhima and others, fell furiously upon Drona's host. Drona, however, that foremost of Ka warriors, received without any anxiety all those mighty Ka warriors of great strength, those heroes accomplished in battle. Disregarding their kingdoms and casting off all fear of death, the warriors of thy army proceeded against the Pandavas. Horsemen encountered horsemen, and Ka warriors encountered Ka warriors. The battle proceeded, darts against darts, swords against swords, and axes against axes. A fierce encounter with swords took place, producing a terrible carnage. And in consequence of the collision of elephants against elephants, the battle became furious. Some fell down from the backs of the elephants, and some from the backs of steeds with heads downwards. And others, O sire, fell down from cars pierced with arrows. In that fierce press, as someone fell down deprived of armor, an elephant might be seen attacking him in the chest and crushing his head. Elsewhere might be seen elephants crushing numbers of men, falling down on the field. And many elephants, piercing the earth with their tusks as they fell down, were seen to tear therewith large bodies of men. Many elephants, again with arrows sticking to their trunks, wandered over the field, tearing and crushing men by the hundreds. And some elephants were seen pressing down into the earth fallen warriors and steeds and elephants cased in armour of black iron, as if these were only thick reeds. Many kings, graced with modesty, their hour having come, laid themselves down for the last sleep on painful beds, overlaid with vultures' feathers. Advancing to battle on his car, sire slew son, and son also, through madness, all losing regard, approached sire in battle. The wheels of the cars were broken, banners were torn, umbrellas fell down on the earth. Dragging broken yokes, steeds ran away. Arms with swords in grasps, and heads decked with earrings fell down. Cars, dragged by mighty elephants, thrown down on the ground, were reduced to fragments. Steeds with riders fell down, severely wounded by elephants. That fierce battle went on, without nobody showing any regard for anyone. "O father! O son, where art thou? Friend, wait! Where dost thou go? Strike! Bring! Slay this one!" These and divers other cries, with loud laughs and shouts, and roars were uttered and heard there. The blood of human beings and steeds and elephants mingled together. The earthly dust disappeared. The hearts of all timid persons became cheerless. Here a hero getting his car wheel entangled with the car wheel of another hero, and the distance being too near to admit of the use of other weapons, smashed that other's head by means of his mace. Brave combatants, desirous of safety where there was no safety, dragged one another by the hair and fought fiercely with fists and teeth and nails. Here was a hero whose upraised arm with sword in grasp was cut off. There another's arm was lopped off with bow or arrow or hook in grasp. Here one loudly called upon another. There another turned his back on the field. Here one severed another's head from his trunk, getting him within reach. There another rushed with loud shouts upon the enemy. Here was one filled with fear at another's roar. There another slew with sharp shafts a friend or foe. Here an elephant, huge as a hill, slain with a long shaft, fell down on the field and lay like a flat island in a river during the summer season. There an elephant, with sweat trickling down its body, like a mountain with rills flowing adown its breast. Steed, having crushed by its tread a car warrior, with his steeds and charioteer on the field. Beholding brave warriors, accomplished in arms and covered with blood, strike one another, they that were timid of weak hearts lost their senses. In fact, all became cheerless. Nothing could any longer be distinguished. Overwhelmed with the dust raised by the troops, the battle became furious. Then the commander of the Pandavas' forces, saying, "This is the time," speedily led the Pandavas on those horses that are always endued with great activity. Obeying his behest, the mighty armed Pandavas, smiting the Kaitarava army, proceeded towards Drona's car like swans towards a lake. "Seize him! Do not fly away! Do not fear! Cut him to pieces!" These uproarious cries were heard in the vicinity of Drona's car. Then Drona and Creeper, and Karna, and Drona's son, and King Jayadratha, and Vinda, and Anuvinda, and Avanti, and Salya received those heroes, those irresistible and invincible warriors. However, the Panchalas and the Pandavas, inspired by noble sentiments, did not, though afflicted with shafts, avoid Drona. Then Drona, excited with great rage, shot hundreds of shafts and caused a great carnage among the Chedis, the Panchalas, and the Pandavas. The twang of his bowstring and the slaps of his palms were, O sire, heard on all sides. And they resembled the roar of thunder and struck fear into the hearts of all. Meanwhile, Jishnu, having vanquished large numbers of Samsaptakas, quickly came to that place where Drona was grinding the Pandava troops. Having crossed many large lakes, whose waters were constituted by blood, and whose fierce billows and eddies were constituted by shafts, and having slain the Samsaptakas, Falguni showed himself there. Possessed of great fame and endued as he was with the energy of the sun himself, Arjuna's emblem, his banner bearing the ape, was beheld by us to blaze with splendor. Having dried up the Samsaptaka ocean by means of weapons that constituted his rays, the son of Pandu then blasted the Kurus also, as if he were the very sun that arises at the end of the Yuga. Indeed, Arjuna scorched all the Kurus by the heat of his weapons, like fire that appears at the end of the Yuga, burning down all creatures. Struck by him with thousands of shafts, elephant warriors and horsemen and car warriors fell down on the earth, with dishevelled hair and exceedingly afflicted those arrowy showers. Some uttered cries of distress, others set up loud shouts, and some, struck with the shafts of Partha, fell down deprived of life. Recollecting the practices of good warriors, Arjuna struck not those combatants among the foe that had fallen down, or those that were retreating, or those that were unwilling to fight. Deprived of their cars and filled with wonder, almost all of the Kauravas, turning away from the field, uttered cries of, "Oh!" and "Alas!" and upon Karna for protection. Hearing that din made by the Kurus, desirous of protection, Adirata's son, Karna, loudly assuring the troops with the words, "Do not fear," proceeded to face Arjuna. Then Karna, that foremost of Bharat car warriors, that delighter of all the Bharats, that first of all persons acquainted with weapons, invoked into existence the Agnaya weapon. Dhananjaya, however, baffled by means of his own arrowy downpours the flights of arrows shot by Radha's son, that warrior of blazing bow, that hero of bright shafts, and similarly, Adirata's son also baffled the shafts of Arjuna of supreme energy. Resisting Arjuna's weapons thus by his own, Karna uttered loud shouts and shot many shafts at his antagonist. Then Drishtadyumna and Bhima and the mighty car warrior Satyaki all approached Karna, and each of them pierced with three shafts, with three straight shafts. The son of Radha, however, checking Arjuna's weapons by his own arrowy showers, cut off with three sharp shafts the bows of those three warriors. Their bows cut off, they looked like snakes without poison. Hurling darts at their foe from their respective cars, they uttered loud leonine shouts. Those fierce darts of great splendor and great impetuosity, looking like snakes, hurled from those mighty arms, coursed impetuously towards Kana's car. Cutting each of those darts with 3 straight arrows and speeding many arrows at the same time at Partha, the mighty Kana uttered a loud shout. Then Arjuna, piercing Kana with 7 shafts, dispatched the latter's younger brother by means of his sharp shafts. Slaying Satrunjaya thus with 6 arrows, Partha, with a broad-headed shaft, struck off Vipata's head as the latter stood on his car. In the very sight of Dhritarashtra's, therefore, as also of the Suta's son, the 3 Uttarine brothers of the latter were dispatched by Arjuna, unaided by anyone. Then Bhima, jumping down from his car like a second Garuda, slew with his excellent sword 5 and 10 combatants amongst those that supported Kana. Mounting once more on his car and taking up another bow, he pierced Kana with 10 shafts and his charioteer and steeds with 5. Drishtajumna also, taking up a sword and a bright shield, dispatched Charamavarman and also Vrihat Shatra, the ruler of the Naishadas. The Panchala prince then, mounting upon his own car and taking up another bow, pierced Kana with 73 shafts and uttered a loud roar. Sini's grandson also, of splendor equal to that of Indra himself, taking up another bow, pierced Suta's son with 64 shafts and roared like a lion. And cutting off Kana's bow with a couple of well-shot shafts, he once more pierced Kana on the arms and the chest with 3 arrows. The king Duryodhana and Drona and Jayadratha rescued Kana from the Satyaki ocean, as the former was about to sink into it. And the foot soldiers and steeds and cars and elephants belonging to thy army, and numbering by hundreds, all accomplished in smiting, rushed to the spot where Kana was frightening his assailants. Then Drishtajumna and Bhima and Subhadra's son, and Arjuna himself, and Nakul and Sahadev began to protect Satyaki in that battle. Even thus went on that fierce battle for the destruction of bowmen belonging to thy army and of the enemies. All the combatants fought, reckless of their very lives. Infantry and cars and steeds and elephants were engaged with cars and infantry. Car warriors were engaged with elephants, and foot soldiers and steeds and cars and foot soldiers were engaged with cars and elephants. And steeds were seen engaged with steeds, and elephants with elephants, and foot soldiers with foot soldiers. Even thus did that battle, marked by great confusion, take place, enhancing the delight of cannibals and carnivorous creatures, between those high-souled men facing one another fearlessly. Indeed, it largely swelled the population of Yama's kingdom. Large numbers of elephants and cars and foot soldiers and steeds were destroyed by men, cars, steeds, and elephants. And elephants were slain by elephants, and car warriors with weapons upraised by car warriors, and steeds by steeds, and large bodies of foot soldiers. And elephants were slain by cars, and large steeds by large elephants, and men by steeds, and steeds by foremost of car warriors. With tongues lolling out, and teeth and eyes pressed out their places, with coats of mail and ornaments crushed into dust, the slaughtered creatures fell down on the field. Others again, of terrible mien, were struck and thrown down to the earth by others armed with diverse and excellent weapons, and sunk into the earth by the tread of steeds and elephants, and tortured and mangled by heavy cars and car wheels. And during the progress of that fierce carnage, so delightful to beasts of prey and carnivorous birds and cannibals, mighty combatants, filled with wrath and slaughtering one another, careered over the field, putting forth all their energy. Then, when both the hosts were broken and mangled, the warriors bathed in blood and looked at each other. Meanwhile, the sun went to his chambers in the western hills, and both armies, O Barrett, slowly retired to their respective tents.
Wow. You know, now it's a new section. Abhimanyu Bud Parva.
Oh,
Just thought I'd let you know. Is it there? Yeah, it's there, Rick. But this is where, in our Debroy's edition,
yeah,
we move on to volume 6.
okay.
So whoever's going to carry on, carry on. Now we're on Abhimanyu Bud Parva.
I'll do this short section and then somebody else can take over.
Yeah, almost, yeah,
Mark?
Mark is there.
Mark, so yeah. Maybe Guna's come back. She can join in later.
Mark, are you preparing yourself? We're not hearing from Mark anyway. Anyway, just start, Dina.
Yeah.
Sorry, it takes me a while to press the button.
All right. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, no, I don't think I'm well enough.
Oh, okay.
Reading.
Fair enough.
Okay,
So be it.
well, no problems.
Abhimanyu Bhadapava. Sanjaya said, having been first broken by Arjuna of immeasurable prowess, and owing also to the failure of Drona's vow, in consequence of Yudhisthira having been well protected, thy warriors were regarded as defeated. All of them, with coats of mail torn and covered with dust, cast anxious glances around. Retiring from the field with Drona's consent, after having been vanquished by their enemies, of short aim and humiliated by them in battle, they heard, as they proceeded, the countless merits of Falguni praised by all creatures, and the friendship of Keshava and Arjuna spoken of by all. They passed the night like men under a curse, reflecting upon the course of events and observing perfect silence. Next morning, Duryodhana said unto Drona these words, from petulance and wrath, and in great cheerlessness of heart at the sight of the prosperity of their foe, skilled in speech and filled with rage at the success of the foe, the king said these words in the hearing of all the troops. O foremost of regenerate ones, without doubt thou hast set us down for men who should be destroyed by thee. Thou didst not seize Yudhisthira today, even though thou hast got him within thy reach. That foe, whom thou wouldst seize in battle, is incapable of escaping thee, if once thou gettest him within sight. Even if he be protected by the Pandavas, aided by the very gods. Gratified, thou gavest me a boon. Now, however, thou dost not act according to it. They that are noble like thee never falsify the hopes of one devoted to them. Thus addressed by Duryodhana, Bharadwaja's son felt greatly ashamed. Addressing the king, he said, It behooveth thee not it behooveth thee not to take me to be such. I always endeavour to achieve what is agreeable to thee. The three worlds with the gods, the Asuras and the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Nagas and the Rakshasas, cannot defeat the force that is protected by the diadem-decked Arjuna. There were Govinda, the creator of the universe, is there, and there where Arjuna is the commander, whose might can avail? Save three-eyed Madhavas, Mahadevs, O Lord. O sire, I tell thee truly, today it will not be otherwise. Today I will slay a mighty Car warrior, one of the foremost heroes of the Pandavas. Today I will also form an array that impenetrable by the very gods. Do, however, O king, by some means take Arjuna away from the field. There is nothing that he doth not know or cannot achieve in battle. From various places hath he acquired all that is to be known about battle. Sanjaya continued. After Drona had said these words, the Samsaptakas once more challenged Arjuna to battle and took him away to the southern side of the field. Then an encounter took place between Arjuna and his enemies, the like of which had never been seen or heard of. On the other hand, the array formed by Drona, O king, looked resplendent. Indeed, that array was incapable of being looked at by like the sun himself, when in his course he reaches the meridian and scorches everything underneath. Abhimanyu at the command, O Bharat, of his sire's eldest brother, pierced in battle that impenetrable circular array in many places. Having achieved the most difficult feats and slain heroes by thousands, he was at last encountered by 6 heroes together. In the end, succumbing to Dushasana's son, O Lord of the earth, Subhadra's son, O chastiser of foes, gave up his life. At this we were filled with great joy, and the Pandavas with great grief. And after Subhadra's son had been slain, our troops were withdrawn for nightly rest. Dhritarashtra said, hearing, O Sanjaya, of the slaughter of the son of Abhimanyu, yet in his minority, of that lion among men, Arjuna, my heart seems to break into pieces. Cruel indeed are the duties of Kshatriyas, as laid down by the legislators, inasmuch as brave men, desirous of sovereignty, scrupled not to shoot their weapons at even a child. O son of Gavalangana, tell me how so many warriors accomplished in arms slew that child, who, though brought up in luxury, yet careered over the field so fearlessly. Tell me, O Sanjaya, how our warriors behaved in battle with Subhadra's son, immeasurable energy, who had penetrated into our car array. Sanjaya said, that which thou askest me, O king, the slaughter of Subhadra's son, I will describe to thee in detail. Listen, O monarch, with attention. I shall relate to thee how that youth, having penetrated into our ranks, played with his weapons, and how the irresistible heroes of thy army, all inspired by hope of victory, were afflicted by him. Like the denizens of a forest abounding with plants and herbs and trees, when surrounded on all sides by a forest conflagration, the warriors of thy army were all filled with fear. Hari Om.
Marvelous.
Beautifully recited, thank you.
Just gets better.
So, Madan, it's back to you, yeah?
Well, what about Mark?
No, he doesn't want to do it.
Oh, okay, I'll do a bit. Do you mind? What do you mean, do I mind? Don't ask me. Okay, let me just put my video on, and so that was, now we're on chapter XXXII 31, yeah? Um, yes, so in We're on the next volume now, Matura. You'll have to get it quick. Chapter 1010 of the Mahabharata, chapter 33. Now, Abhimanyu Vadha Parva. Sanjaya said, they are performers of terrible deeds in battle. Their deeds show that they have conquered exhaustion. Together with Krishna, the 5 Pandavas are difficult to resist, even by the gods. There has never been, nor will there be, a man who possesses Krishna's qualities in righteousness, deeds, vigor, intelligence, nature, fame, and prosperity. King Yudhishthira has always obtained heaven because of his truthfulness, devotion to dharma, generosity, worship of brahmanas, and other qualities. O king, it has been said that 3 are equal in the field of battle: the destroyer himself at the end of the yuga, Jamadagni's valiant son, and Bhimasena. Partha, the wielder of the Gandiva, is always skilled in performing all his pledges in battle, and I do not see his parallel on earth. Devotion towards superiors, maintaining secrecy of counsel, humility, self-control, beauty, and bravery. These 6 are always present in Nakula. In knowledge of the sacred texts, gravity, sweetness, spirit, prowess, and valor, the brave Sahadeva is the equal of the gods who are the Ashwins. All the great qualities in Krishna and all qualities in the Pandavas, all those assembled qualities were to be seen in Abhimanyu. He was Yudhishthira's equal in patience, Krishna's in conduct, Bhimasena's in deeds, and his equal in terrible feats, Dhananjaya's in beauty, valor, and learning, and Nakula and Sahadeva's in humility. Dhritarashtra said, O Suta, I wish to hear everything about how the invincible Abhimanyu, Subhadra's son, was killed on the field of battle. Sanjaya replied, O great king, the preceptor created the chakra vyuha. All the kings who were chakras equal were assembled in it. There was an assembly of princes there. All of them had taken their pledges, and their standards were embellished with gold. All of them were attired in red garments, and all of them had red ornaments. All of them had red pennants, and all of them wore golden garlands. There were 10,000 such, firm in wielding the bow. Your handsome son, Lakshmana, was the foremost. They shared each other's misery and were like each other in bravery. They sought to rival each other, and they were devoted to each other's welfare. The king was surrounded by Maharata Karna, Dushashana, and Kripa. With a white umbrella held aloft his head, that was Duryodhana, the king. He was like the king of the gods in his beauty. He was fanned with wisps and was radiant as the rising sun. The leader, Drona, was stationed at the forefront of those soldiers. The king of Sindhu was stationed there. That is 19. Jayadratha. Handsome and like Mount Meru, O great king, on the flank of the king of Sindhu was stationed 30 of your sons, resembling the gods, and with Ashwatthama at the forefront. The Maharathas, the gambler who was the king of Gandhara, Shalya, and Bhurishrava were stationed on the flank of the king of Sindhu. Chapter 1011 of the Mahabharata, chapter 34 of Abhimanyu Vattapara. Sanjaya said, that invincible army was protected by Bharadwaja's son. With Bhimasena at the forefront, the Parthas advanced against it. Satyaki, Chekitana, Parshata Drishtadyumna, the valiant Kunti Bhoja, Maharata Drupada, Arjuna's son, Kshatra Dharma, the brave Brihat Kshatra, Drishtaketu, the king of Chedi, the sons of Madri, Gatotkacha, the brave Yuddhamanyu, the unvanquished Sikande, the unassailable Uttamaoja, Maharata Virata, Draupadi's enraged sons, Shishupala's brave son, the immensely valorous Kekayas, thousands of Srinjayas, and many others, skilled in the use of weapons and irresistible in battle, suddenly advanced, together with their followers, wishing to fight against Bharadwaja's son. However, Bharadwaja's valiant son was not agitated. As they approached, he repulsed all of them. Repulsed all of them. Oh, I just had to shut the door. Too much noise. Sorry. Okay. However, Bharadwaja's valiant son was not agitated. As they approached, he repulsed all of them with a mighty shower of arrows, like a large mass of water confronting an impenetrable hill, or like the shoreline driving back the ocean. They were driven back by Drona. O Indra among kings, they were oppressed by the arrows released from Drona's bow. The Pandavas were incapable of standing before Bharadwaja's son. The strength of Drona's arms was seen to be extraordinary, in that the Panchalas, together with the Srinjayas, could not advance before him. On seeing that Drona was advancing wrathfully, Yudhishthira thought about many ways whereby Drona could be countered. Having formed the view that Drona was incapable of being resisted by anyone else, Yudhishthira imposed that heavy and unbearable burden on Subhadra's son. He was not inferior to Vasudeva. His energy was superior to that of Falguna. And he spoke these words to Abhimanyu, the slayer of enemy heroes. O son, act so that Arjuna does not censure us on return. There is no one amongst us who knows how to penetrate the Chakra Vyuha. O mighty armed one, with the exception of you, Arjuna, Krishna, and Pradyumna, there is no fifth person who can penetrate the Chakra Vyuha. O Abhimanyu, O son, I am asking this boon, and you should grant it to me, for the sake of your fathers, your maternal uncles, and all the soldiers. O son, otherwise, on returning from the fight, Dhananjaya will censure us. Grasp your weapons and act so as to strike Drona's army. Abhimanyu replied, desiring the victory of my fathers, I will soon enter and penetrate that firm and supreme array of warriors created by Drona. My father instructed me about entering and penetrating an array like this, but if I confront a calamity there, I do not know how to emerge. Yudhishthira said, O foremost of warriors, O son, penetrate the array and create an entry for us. All of us will follow the path you traverse. O son, you are the equal of Dhananjaya in battle. On seeing you enter, we will follow and protect you from all the directions. Bhima said, I will follow you, and so will Drishtadyumna. Satyaki, the Panchalas, the Kekayas, the Matsyas, and the Prabhadrakas. Once you have shattered the Vyuha, we will repeatedly enter it and slaughter the best of the warriors who are inside it. Abhimanyu replied, like an angry insect entering a flaming fire, I will penetrate Drona's unassailable array. Today I will do what is good for both the lineages. I will bring pleasure to my maternal uncle and my father. In the battle, a single child will be like death to masses of enemy soldiers, and all the beings will witness my deeds today. Yudhishthira said, O Subhadra's son, as you speak, may your strength increase. You are seeking to penetrate Drona's impenetrable array. These tigers among men, great archers who are skilled in striking, will protect you. They are like the Sadhyas, the Rudras, and the Maruts. They are like the Vasus, Agni, and Aditya in valor. Sanjaya said, on hearing these words, he instructed his charioteer, Sumitra, and in that battle asked him to swiftly drive towards Drona's array. You want to have another go, Dina? Dina?
I've retired for the evening.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh.
My voice is yeah.
Oh. And Mark doesn't want to read.
You go
What
on,
about Guna?
Mother, until you, as far as you want to go, Mother.
Let me see. The next one is long.
Well, you just go. You know when to stop.
Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I'll read one more, then we'll wrap it up. That's all right. So chapter 1012 of the Mahabharata, chapter 35 of Abhimanyu Vadhaparva. Sanjaya said, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, having heard the words of the intelligent Dharmaraja, Subhadra's son urged his charioteer towards Drona's array. The charioteer was urged with the words, Go, go. O king, he replied to Abhimanyu in these words, O one with the long life, an extremely heavy burden has been imposed on you by the Pandavas. You should advance to the fight only after you have thought over whether you have the capacity to bear this. Drona, the preceptor, is skilled in the use of supreme weapons and has conquered exhaustion. You have been reared in extreme happiness and are not skilled in fighting. On hearing these words, Abhimanyu laughed and spoke to his charioteer. Oh, charioteer, who is Drona? Who are these assembled Kshatriyas? Even if Shakra on Airavata advances in the forefront of the battle with the masses of immortals, I will engage. Today, I am not bewildered by these Kshatriyas. These enemy soldiers are not even a 16th part of me. O son of Asuta, even if I were to confront my maternal uncle Vishnu, the conqueror of the universe, or my father in battle, I would not be terrified. Abhimanyu disregarded the words of the charioteer and instructed him to swiftly drive towards Drona's array. The charioteer was distressed in heart, but he urged the horses, which were 3 years old and decorated with golden harnesses. Thus, goaded by Sumitra, the horses advanced towards Drona's array. O king, without any fear and with great force and valor, they advanced against Drona himself. On seeing him attack, all the Kauravas, with Drona at the forefront, advanced to meet him, and all the Pandavas followed him. His supreme standard bore the marks of the Karnikara. He was clad in golden armor. Arjuna's son was superior to Arjuna himself. He wished to fight with the Maharajas, with Drona at the forefront. He was like a lion. a young lion attacking a herd of elephants. He sought to attack them and advanced 20 steps. In an instant, there was a melee, like when the whirl of the Ganga meets the ocean. The brave ones fought and killed each other. O king, an extremely tumultuous and terrible battle commenced. While that fearful battle raged in Drona's sight, Arjuna's son shattered and penetrated the Vyuha. The immensely strong one penetrated into the midst of the enemy and began to slaughter the foes. Warriors on elephants, horses, and chariots, armed with weapons, descended on him and surrounded him. There was the sound of musical instruments. There were sounds of the slapping of arms and roars. There were roars like lions and shouts of "Stay, stay!" There were terrible and repeated exclamations of "Do not go! Wait! Come to me! I am here! That is the enemy!" This, mingled with the trumpeting of elephants, the tinkling of bells and ornaments, sounds of laughter and sounds of hooves and chariot wheels, the earth resounded with these noises. Those on your side descended before Arjuna's son, but the brave one was swift and firm. He was quick in using weapons that penetrated the inner organs and knew about the inner organs. He killed them. They were slaughtered by many different kinds of sharp arrows. They were like helpless insects descending into a fire. He swiftly covered the earth with their bodies and limbs severed from their bodies, like a priest covering an altar with kusha grass. There were arms with arm guards and finger guards, holding bows and arrows, swords and shields, goads, reins, lances, and battle axes, balls with iron spikes, spears, scimitars, spikes, javelins, catapults, clubs, the best of darts, campanas, whips, giant conch shells, spears, kachagrahas, maces, slings, nooses, heavy maces, and stones. Those arms were decorated with armlets and bracelets and smeared with fragrances and unguents. Arjuna's son severed the arms of those on your side, thousands. You want to have a go? No? It's easy. Top of the page. Now, somebody else, a special guest reader, is going to take over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful. Welcome, Nikunja. Great.
Dandavat pranams. O great king, covered with blood, they were strewn around on the ground and looked radiant. O venerable one, it was as if 5-headed serpents had been slain by Garud. There were many heads with beautiful noses, face, hair, without the marks of wounds, and adorned with beautiful earrings. Copious quantities of blood flowed from these, and the teeth gnashed the lips in anger. They were adorned with beautiful garlands and headdresses, embellished with gems and jewels. They were like lotuses severed from the stalks and possessed the radiance of the sun and the moon. Once upon a time, they could speak many beneficial and pleasant words and were smeared with sacred fragrances. Falgun's son covered the earth with the heads of the enemy. There were many excellent chariots with forms like the cities of the Gandharvas. They possessed shafts in the front and curved staffs made out of bamboo poles. Their shafts, yokes, and wheels were shattered. They were bereft of their axles and pins. They lost their wheels, standards, and seats. The implements of war were scattered. The expensive cushions were also scattered and thousands of riders slain. Everything that could be seen was mangled with his arrows. He used sharp arrows honed at the tip to slice down the enemy riders on elephants with their flags, goads, pennants, quivers, armor, sheets, reins, and blankets, the bells on the trunks and the tusk, and all those who guarded their steps from the rear. There were horses from Vanayu, Kamboj, Balik, and the mountainous regions. They were all trained and swift and could keep their tails, ears, and eyes immobile. The warriors who rode on them were accomplished and wielded spears, swords, and lances. They were strewn around, deprived of cushions and whisks. Their tongues lolled out, the eyes were detached, and the entrails and livers were plucked out. Ew. Their harnesses were torn and their riders were killed. This delighted large numbers of flesh eaters. The mail and armor were sliced away, and they were covered in urine and excrement. Thus, bringing down the best of your horses, he was resplendent. He accomplished these difficult deeds alone, like the unfathomable Vishnu in earlier times. He crushed your giant army with the three kinds of forces. There's a footnote. The three forces are the chariots, elephants, and horses. O descendant of the Bharat lineage, he also killed your foot soldiers using sharp arrows. Subhadra's son was seen to single-handedly destroy your soldiers like Skanda against the Asura army. Those on your side and your sons glanced in the 10 directions. Their mouths were dry, the eyes were restless, they were covered with sweat, and their body hair stood up. They lost all interest in vanquishing the enemy and made up their minds to flee. Wishing to remain alive, they cried and called out to each other by name and lineage. They abandoned wounded sons, fathers, well-wishers, relatives, and kin. They urged their horses and elephants so that they could run away quickly. End of chapter.
Want to read another one?
Is it all right if I read more?
Yeah, we go up to 9 o'clock.
Oh.
10 minutes.
Chapter 1013. Sanjay said, on seeing that the army was routed by Subhadra's infinitely energetic son, Duryodhana was angered and himself advanced against Subhadra's son. On seeing that the king had returned and was advancing in a battle against Subhadra's son, Drona spoke to all the warriors, protect the king. While we look on, the valiant Abhimanyu is killing everything that he is targeting. Do not be afraid. Swiftly attack and protect Gaurava. He possessed powerful and grateful well-wishers, desiring victory. Though they were terrified, those brave ones surrounded your son, Drona's son, Kripa, Karna, Kritavarma, and Subala. Brihadbala, the king of Madra, Bhuri, Bhurishrava, Shala, Paurava, Vrishashen. They released sharp arrows and countered Subhadra's son with that great shower of arrows. They confounded him and freed Duryodhana, but Arjun's son could not tolerate that something he had grasped should be taken away. With a great shower of arrows, he enveloped the horses and the charioteers of those Maharathas. Having repulsed them, Subhadra's son roared like a lion. On hearing his roar, which was like that of a lion in search of flesh, the Raths, with Drona at the forefront, were extremely enraged. They could not tolerate it. O venerable one, They encircled him from all sides with a massive chariots. They released a mass of many different kinds of arrows at him. But your grandson used sharp arrows to sever them in the sky and then pierce them back in turn. It was extraordinary. They were enraged by those arrows, which were like the virulent poison of snakes. Wishing to kill him, they surrounded Subhadra's son, who refused to run away. That ocean of your soldiers was like a sea, but Abhimanyu held it back, like the shoreline against the abode of Makaras. A makara is a mythical aquatic animal, which can be loosely translated as shark or crocodile. These brave ones fought, wishing to kill each other. There was Abhimanyu on one side and the enemy on the other, and no one wished to retreat. A terrible and fearful combat raged. Dushasha pierced Abhimanyu with 9 arrows, Dushashan with 12, Sharadvata Kripa with 3, and Drona with 17 arrows, each of which was like a venomous serpent. Vimshati pierced him with 20, Kritavarma with 7, Brihadbal with 8, Ashwatam with 7, Buddhishrava with 3 arrows, and the king of Madra with 6 arrows. Shukuni pierced him with 2 arrows, and King Duryodhan with 3. In turn, he pierced each of them back with 3 arrows. O great king, with the bow in his hand, the powerful Abhimanyu seemed to dance around. He was enraged because he was oppressed by your sons. He exhibited the great strength he had acquired through learning and practice. He was born on well-trained horses with speeds like that of Garud or the wind. They bore him swiftly, and he countered the heir of Ashmaka. Ashmaka son is not given. Ashmakas are mentioned as having fought both the Pandavas and Kaurav sides. Asking him to wait, Abhimanyu used 10 arrows to cut down his charioteer, his horses, his standard, his arms, his bow, and his head. Having brought these down, he smiled. When the brave lord of Ashmak was thus slain by Subhadra's son, all his soldiers wavered and began to run away. Karna, Kripa, Drona's son, the king of Gandhara, Shala, Shalaya, Burishvara, Krata, Somadatta, Vimshati, Vrishashen, Sushen, Kundabedi, Pratardhan, Vrindaraka, Lalita, Prabhu, Dirgalochan, and the enraged Duryodhan showered down arrows on him. Those great archers pierced him with their arrows, and Abhimanyu became angry. He shot arrows at Karna that were capable of penetrating the body of a king. They pierced his armor and his body and penetrated the earth like a snake entering a termite hill. Having thus been wounded by him, Karna was pained and swooned. In that battle, he was like a mountain trembling because of an earthquake. With 3 other sharp arrows, the angry and powerful one slew Shushashen, Dirgalochan, and Kundabedi. Having recovered, Karna pierced him with 25 iron arrows, Ashvatam with 20, and Kritavarma with 7. With arrows piercing all the limbs, the son of Shakra's son was seen to angrily roam around amidst the soldiers, like Yama with a noose in his hand. Shalya was near him, and he repulsed him with a shower of arrows. The mighty armed one roared and terrified your soldiers, O king, pierced in his inner organs by the one who was skilled in the use of weapons. Shalya lost his senses and sat down on the floor of his chariot. While Bharadwaja's son looked on seeing that he had been pierced by Subhadra's illustrious son, all the soldiers began to run away. They saw that the mighty armed one was covered with gold-tufted arrows. Those on your side began to flee like deer oppressed by a lion. He was thus praised for his fighting and his fame by the ancestors, the gods, and the Jaranas, the Siddhas, and the masses of Yakshas, who also, by the large number of beings who were on earth, he was as resplendent as a fire into which oblations had been poured. End of chapter.
Thank you, Nikunja. Okay, I'll stop recording.
Oh my God! I didn't know that.